When I first met my son's fiancée, she wasted no time in delivering her cutting remarks. "Your father only finished middle school. Can you even find a job with such minimal qualifications?" She jeered, her laughter echoing through the room. Her father joined in, adding insult to injury with his own jibes. As if that wasn't enough, they made it clear I was not included in their meal plans, serving food only for themselves. The fiancée's mother, with a smirk plastered on her face, remarked, "I only cook for my family." I've never encountered such a ridiculous parent during a family introduction. I decided I wouldn't tolerate their disrespect any longer. "Feel free to say what you like," I retorted before swiftly exiting the restaurant. My name is Stephen Walker, 60 years old and father to Michael, a 25-year-old whose relationship with me is strained, to say the least. He hasn't set foot in my house in ages. I've often found myself grappling with regret over the way I raised him, especially considering it's what ultimately led to losing my beloved wife when Michael was still in elementary school. My wife had been fragile since childhood, and her passing at the tender age of 45 left a profound void in our lives. At her funeral, I paid no mind to the judgmental gazes of relatives. Grief enveloped me like a child in a daze. Michael, composed beyond his years, gently urged me, "Dad, it's heartbreaking, but we need to bid Mom farewell." Yet my sorrow seemed fleeting, confined to those somber moments. At that time, I was overseeing a real estate business inherited from my father. The day following my wife's funeral, I awoke to a flurry of client calls. Duty beckoned, loyal clients awaited, and Michael needed my sole care. Those calls jolted me back to reality, propelling me to my office. Simultaneously, I found myself immersed in school functions and PTA gatherings, shouldering the responsibilities once shared with my wife. It was an unsteady juggle. I alone struggled to balance work and school commitments. I made a swift decision to temporarily shutter my business, passing my clientele to another real estate agency to devote time to Michael. Yet, upon arriving at his school, I was met with a cold reception. Michael's glare pierced through me as he uttered, "Dad, I told you not to come." His words stung deeper when he pleaded, "Don't let anyone know you're my dad," leaving me feeling like a stranger in my own son's life. Even now, as I sport a Walker name tag during PTA activities, the reason behind Michael's sudden aloofness remains a puzzle. During one such event, my mother's innocent inquiry unraveled the truth. "Isn't that your father?" she questioned, oblivious to the tension. "What's he doing here on a weekday? Has he nothing else to occupy his time since your mother passed?" Michael, silent and crestfallen, bore the brunt of his classmates' ridicule. Desperate to shield him from further humiliation, I intervened, offering a feeble excuse about taking a break from work akin to their summer or winter recess. Yet Michael's vulnerability only served as fodder for his peers' mockery, leaving me grappling with a sense of helplessness. "Your dad's only job was pretending to take a break. Your family's poor. I'll share my lunch bread with you." Michael's classmates' taunts only fueled his growing resentment. "Damn you, Dad, your words just made me look even worse," he seethed. Helpless against the onslaught of mockery, I could only avert my gaze, my heart heavy with the weight of his pain. Countless tears were shed in solitude as I grappled with my own sense of inadequacy. As Michael entered middle school, he began drifting towards troubled company. Nights were spent at friends' homes or lingering in gas station parking lots until the early hours. In an era where cell phones were a luxury, his absence became increasingly alarming. With each passing day, he returned home less frequently, leaving me in the dark about his whereabouts and activities. All I could do was offer apologies when the school's calls came, reporting complaints from nearby gas stations. Whenever I visited Michael's school, I endured a barrage of insults from him and his unruly peers, who hurled derogatory names and empty cans my way. Michael's demeanor had turned increasingly volatile since entering middle school, leaving me terrified to even approach him, unsure of how he might react. Reflecting on my parenting during his elementary years, I wished I had handled things differently. Yet I was at a loss. What was the appropriate approach to address a child's unruly behavior? Communication with a teenager seemed like an insurmountable challenge, leaving me utterly bewildered. Michael's truancy and classroom disruptions escalated, with his academic performance plummeting to new lows. During the parent-teacher conference, the prospect of a private high school emerged as a beacon of hope. Relief washed over me knowing there was an alternative where Michael could thrive. Perhaps, I reasoned, a change in environment and peer group would temper his behavior. True to my hopes, Michael's transition to high school marked a turning point. He applied himself diligently, achieving modestly above-average grades and even securing admission to college. Yet despite his academic strides, his animosity towards me remained steadfast. Even as he progressed through high school and into college, Michael remained elusive, preferring the company of friends to returning home. Upon entering college, he embraced independent living in a dorm, financing his education through part-time work. His self-sufficiency was admirable, yet his demeanor towards me remained frosty. Even as he ventured into the workforce, the threshold of our home remained untouched by his presence. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, after years of silence, Michael reached out. "I found someone I want to marry," he declared abruptly over the phone, followed by the directive, "We're meeting at a fancy restaurant next Sunday at 2 p.m. Be there." His plans were laid out without the courtesy of inquiring about my availability. Caught off guard, I protested, "This is all too sudden," only to be met with indifference. "If you can't make it, don't bother," he retorted before abruptly ending the call, leaving me bewildered by his callous demeanor. Despite my conflicting emotions, I couldn't deny the bond I shared with my precious son, so for his sake, I complied with his summons and arrived promptly at the upscale restaurant as instructed. Upon my arrival, her parents greeted me with an air of hostility, demanding, "Who are you?" In a manner that caught me off guard. Irritated by their rudeness, I retorted, "You call me out of the blue and then ask who? Give me a break," yet my frustration fell on deaf ears as they denied any involvement in summoning me, mirroring my son's cold demeanor. Meanwhile, Michael stood nearby, sporting a smug grin that set off warning bells in my mind. Though uncertain of his intentions, I cautiously proceeded into the restaurant, the air thick with unspoken tension. As I stood there, feeling like an unwelcome intruder, Michael redirected the conversation towards me, painting a less than flattering picture of my life. "This guy," he began, gesturing towards me, "dropped out of high school and has been idle since Mom passed away." I attempted to interject, urging him to reconsider the appropriateness of the discussion, but he remained steadfast in his narrative. To my dismay, Sarah joined in with mocking laughter, questioning the employability of someone with only a middle school education. Adding insult to injury, Sarah's father chimed in, applauding Michael's achievements in contrast to my perceived shortcomings. It was a humiliating moment, with Michael basking in the praise while I stood there, painfully aware of the disparagement directed towards me. Exhausted and disheartened, I was on the verge of walking out, ready to utter the words, "Say what you want, I'm out of here." But before I could speak, a waiter approached from behind me with the food, apologizing for the delay. It was a stark reminder that the meal had yet to arrive, a fact that had slipped my mind in the heat of the moment. Attempting to regain my composure, I resigned myself to eating what was in front of me and departing. However, my efforts were thwarted when the waiter brought out dishes only for Michael, Sarah, and her parents, apologizing for a reservation oversight. Sarah's mother, with a saccharine smile, dismissed my presence, declaring, "He's not part of our family, so please disregard him." The waiter, visibly uncomfortable, retreated just as my frustration reached its peak. Before I could react, Sarah's father intervened, his tone laced with disdain. "We have no interest in associating with a deadbeat high school dropout," he asserted, casting me out with a sharp dismissal. It was a bitter blow, hearing such words of rejection from those gathered around the table. That was the last straw. "Is education and job history all that matter to you?" I exclaimed, rising from my seat. "Seems like you folks are a bit out of touch with reality." With those words, I made my intent to leave abundantly clear. In response, Sarah's father delivered a cutting retort, emphasizing the importance of education and job history, particularly in his line of work at Bank of America. His condescending remarks stung, but I managed a parting comment as I exited the scene. "Impressive working at Bank of America," I murmured under my breath, though what I heard amidst the tension in the air. The following day, I made my way to Bank of America, where Sarah's father held his position. Despite being labeled a deadbeat by my son, his peers, and even my son's prospective in-laws, I must clarify that the title doesn't quite fit. Following my wife's passing, I opted for a temporary closure of the real estate business I managed. However, it's essential to note that this closure was not permanent. In the wake of my wife's demise, I pivoted my business towards online management, prioritizing my son's school commitments and PTA engagements. While operating a physical storefront, my clientele primarily consisted of local residents. However, transitioning to online management opened doors to a broader spectrum of clients, including those residing in rural areas miles away from the nearest train station, and even American expatriates. The internet served as a gateway to a wider market, allowing me to expand my property portfolio and cater to an extensive clientele. Running a real estate business online not only made my operations more efficient but also transformed distant aspirations into tangible realities. In addition to my real estate ventures, I also dabbled in stocks and investments as a personal hobby. Currently, I have $50 million deposited in Bank of America, where Sarah's father holds his position. Upon my arrival at the bank, I wasted no time in requesting a meeting with the branch manager to address the events of the previous day. I was informed by one of your employees that this bank operates on trust founded upon educational background and work history. I explained, my disappointment evident. As a result of that statement, I've lost all faith in this institution. Could you please assist me with closing my account? The branch manager, visibly distraught, offered profuse apologies and guided me through the account closure process. On a separate note, there's an issue I nearly overlooked. An individual who has neglected to pay rent for the apartment I own for the past 2 years. I have been turning a blind eye to the issue, assuming leniency because he's my son, but enough was enough. I mailed him a notice demanding 2 years' worth of rent. 3 days later, I found myself face to face with Sarah's father and my son, both furious. Why did you go behind my back and report me to the branch manager, Dad? Michael accused, his tone seething with betrayal. Sarah's father chimed in, equally incensed, and what's with that notice? If you're the manager, you should be covering for me. Exasperated, I replied, I lost trust in the bank after discovering their practice of judging clients based on education and work history. Are you both panicking because of one person's comment? Do you have something to hide? I turned to Michael, adding sternly, just because we're family doesn't mean you can shirk your responsibilities. Pay your own rent. Sarah's father interjected, your actions have caused a stir. I've received numerous complaints from other clients and my boss reprimanded me because of your antics. It's outrageous. I haven't caused any trouble. I simply shared the situation in passing with my relatives and clients, I clarified with a gentle smile. My son retorted sharply, clients? What clients, Dad? You're just a deadbeat, aren't you? I met his accusation with a calm rebuttal. Do you think a deadbeat could afford to construct a substantial house in such a prime location and maintain this lifestyle? I've even undertaken recent renovations. My son's expression shifted to one of confusion as he exclaimed, Ha! What do you mean? Did you go into debt or something? I'm really fed up with you. I took a hiatus from my real estate job for a period and transitioned to managing an online business, which I'm still involved in. How many times do I need to reiterate? I'm not a slacker, I stated firmly, watching as my son's complexion drained of color. What? I had no idea. I thought you were only working part-time, he stammered in disbelief. Sarah's father erupted in anger. You're quite the piece of work, hiding your occupation even from your own son. Annoyed by the accusation, I retorted, say whatever you want, as I shut the front door behind me, cutting off further discussion. Outside, their voices echoed in heated accusations, punctuated by threats of legal action and bitter resentment. You've tarnished my reputation. I'll take you to court. I can't believe I've been deceived by my own father all this time. I won't stand for it. Their argument escalated into a cacophony of shouts, but after about 10 minutes of fervent protest, their voices gradually dwindled into silence. It seemed they had exhausted their anger, realizing the futility of their outbursts. I breathed a sigh of relief, assuming they would refrain from returning. However, just as the tranquility settled in, my son's enraged voice shattered the calm. You deceitful liar. What are you still doing here? I peered out the window to witness Sarah's father and my son defacing my front door with spray paint. This can't be happening. What are they plotting? Just as I prepared to confront them, the wail of police sirens pierced the air, drawing closer by the second. Could it be that a concerned neighbor had alerted the authorities? My suspicions were confirmed when I stepped outside to find them both being apprehended by the police responding to a complaint from the neighborhood. There he is, that deceitful liar. I've lost all credibility at work because of him. Their accusations reverberated through the air as the police calmly escorted them into the patrol car, reassuringly stating, all right, we'll handle it from here. Suddenly noticing my presence, one of the officers approached me with an oddly cheerful demeanor. "Sir, would you mind accompanying us to provide your statement?" "Why me? But I suppose I'm the one wronged here. I'll spill the beans on all their deceitful antics," I replied, agreeing to go with them. Upon arrival at the police station, I presented the officers with footage from a security camera installed at my front door, capturing the entire commotion. "This is excellent evidence," exclaimed one of the officers, his eyes gleaming with satisfaction. With the video in hand, my interrogation was swiftly concluded. Consequently, my son and Sarah's father received a stern warning from the police and were required to sign a restraining order, mandating that they maintain their distance from me. As it turned out, the entire neighborhood bore witness to their outrageous behavior. Word spread like wildfire, reaching even my son's workplace. A coworker who resided nearby couldn't contain the gossip, regaling the office with tales of Michael's arrest for vandalizing his own father's property. I was so taken aback that I captured the entire ordeal on video. The news of Michael's antics quickly spread throughout his workplace and among clients, resulting in his demotion by his employer. Determined to address the matter, I returned to Bank of America, where Sarah's father was employed. Upon presenting the manager with the security camera footage from my phone, his complexion drained of color. Subsequently, I learned that Sarah's father had been terminated from his position, and naturally, Sarah called off her engagement with Michael. Both Michael and Sarah's family relocated to a rural area, seeking refuge from the fallout of their actions. Rumor had it that Sarah's parents even took up part-time employment at a remote gas station operated by my brother. They were no good at it, couldn't grasp the basics of stocking shelves no matter how many times I showed them. Had to give them the boot right away. And word has it, nearby gas stations and farms did the same. According to my brother, it seems Sarah's parents can't hold down a steady job. They're bouncing around from one gig to another at gas stations and farms as a duo. Additionally, Sarah was known for showering her boyfriends, including my son, with lavish gifts like watches, and she ended up in debt because of it. The meager earnings her parents make from their part-time gigs reportedly go straight into clearing their daughter's debts, leaving it a mystery how they managed to make ends meet. It's been 5 years since then, and my son is now 30. It seems that he's made positive changes after experiencing kindness from the people in the small town he moved to. He approached me on a couple of occasions, offering sincere apologies. I realized I had been naive and immature, hastily labeling him as good for nothing without making an effort to understand his job. The weight of regret for my actions is something I can't apologize enough for. Observing the shift in my son's demeanor, I made the decision to allow him to move in with me. Now, he's employed at a company near my residence, and gradually, he's begun assisting me with my work as well. However, it's important to note that he's still inexperienced, and I'm cautious about placing complete trust in him. While I remain hesitant to delegate all my tasks to him, I intend to closely monitor his behavior and attitude towards work before making any further decisions. If he demonstrates a genuine transformation in his life, I might entertain the idea of entrusting him with my business. However, expressing this possibility directly to him could lead to impulsivity. He might eagerly respond with, "Seriously, I'll resign tomorrow," and act without careful consideration. For now, I'm living with my son, holding on to the hope that someday I'll feel secure enough to place my complete trust in him.
My mom spent a lot of my money on my sister's wedding, but I stopped it by freezing the account. I'm facing a tough situation. My mom and sister have been using me for a long time, and now it's gone too far. I want to stop them, but I worry that cutting them off completely would make life hard for them. I'm tired of always giving in to their demands. I'm 38 years old, married with 2 kids, and I've been living in Ohio for 6 years since I got married. I originally come from Houston. My childhood was tough because my parents got divorced and my dad left. When I was 10 years old, my parents split up. I was 5 when it happened. They say it was because my dad thought my sister wasn't really his child. This made them get divorced. Dad let mom keep our house and he moved out. He paid for my schooling but not for my sister's. He didn't give money to support her, and I don't know why mom didn't ask for it. Maybe that's why people believed Dad's claim about my sister. Dad wasn't around much during my childhood. Sometimes my dad would come to my school to pay for my fees and bring me gifts. But when I started high school, I reached out to him, and since then, he's been a big part of my life. He even came to my wedding, even though my mom didn't like it. Over time, I grew closer to my dad than to my mom. He visited me in Ohio twice after I moved here, but then he got very sick, and we lost him last year. Mom didn't like how close I was to my dad, and she started acting distant. To make her even more upset, my dad named me as his heir. He got married again after divorcing my mom, but he didn't have any kids with his new wife. My dad always said I was his only daughter. Mom and my sister didn't like me because Dad favored me, and I got to inherit his $400,000 trust fund. But it's not just about the money. Dad supported me through school, so I got a better education than my sister. This meant I went to better schools and colleges and had a better life overall, thanks to the money Dad gave us after the divorce. I was 10 when they split, and by then the money for my education had already started coming in. I was 12, so Mom couldn't control it much. The money for my schooling went straight to the school, and later to college from the support Dad gave us. Mom did use some of the money for my sister and for things around the house. I wasn't a dumb kid, so my mom tried to keep me happy so I wouldn't complain. I won't say my mom and sister were mean to me when I was growing up, but they didn't really like me, and they were pretty close to each other while I felt left out. Plus, I was smart, not just in school but clever too. I wasn't someone they could push around easily. I think that's why my mom never mistreated me. Nowadays, my problem is the $400,000 my dad left for me. Ever since my mom and sister found out about it, they keep asking me for money. Actually, this isn't the first time they've asked for money. I've been helping them financially since I started working. As I made more money, their needs grew. I don't owe them anything, but I help them because they're family and they don't make much money. My mom works as a cashier and my sister works in a store. Together, they don't make half as much as I do, so I feel like I should help them. We might not be very close emotionally, but they've never been mean to me. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say and that I'm not confusing you with my feelings. A few months ago, my mom called me and said she wanted to fix up our house. Over the years, the walls, ceilings, and floors had gotten really damaged. Since Dad left, we hadn't been able to keep up with repairs. The house hadn't been painted, and the wiring was messed up. The ceilings and walls were falling apart in places. We never had enough money to take care of the house. Mom said it was getting hard to live there, especially during storms. She went to the bank to ask for a loan, but the interest rates were too high. I knew she wanted me to give her the money for the renovations, but neither of us said it directly. It was an awkward talk, so after that, I started ignoring her calls. She doesn't call me much, usually just once a month, but last month she called me 3 or 4 times. When I finally answered her call, Mom said it wasn't safe to stay in our house anymore because it was falling apart in bad weather. This time, she was direct and asked me for money. She promised to pay it back bit by bit. I asked her how much she needed, and she said $100,000. I was shocked. I didn't have that much to lend. She hinted at the inheritance money. I was angry but didn't want to talk about it. I said I could only lend $50,000. She agreed. Later, I realized I was too quick to offer $50,000. I could have just ignored her, but now that I'd said it, I had to lend her the money. I didn't feel good about lending such a big amount. My husband suggested that I lend the money bit by bit and check on the progress of the house before giving more. I told my mom I'd send $50,000 in parts. I had an old account in Houston that I hadn't used, so I activated it and sent $10,000 there. I gave Mom access to that account. She asked why I didn't send the money directly to her account, and I made up an excuse. It was actually my husband's idea. I'm not very hopeful that she'll pay it back, but let's see how it goes. Update. I can't figure out exactly how my mom and sister tried to trick me for easy money. It's been 2 months since I started lending money to my mom for the house renovations. I've given $20,000 so far, and I'm not giving any more after this. I always knew they were only nice to me for my money, but I never thought they would lie to me this much just to get money from me. If they had been honest with me, it wouldn't have hurt so much. Recently, I found out that my sister is getting married, not from my family, but from one of my school friends. My friend's husband is a wedding planner, and my sister has been working with his agency to plan her big wedding. They're calling it a grand wedding. I don't think my sister knew that I'm friends with them. A wedding worth $50,000 is definitely grand. It hurts to find out about your sister's wedding from someone else. I wasn't even told about it, let alone invited. I thought it would be a small and intimate wedding with just a few people, but my friend told me the guest list was around 100. It was heartbreaking not to even be among those 100 guests. Feeling sad about it is one thing, but I'm more concerned about the money. Where did my sister get the money to organize such an extravagant wedding? It was held at one of the best venues in town, with unlimited food and drinks, and top-notch decorations and flowers. I checked the bank account where I was sending money to my mom for her supposed renovation project, but it was empty. I called Mom to ask if the renovations had started. She said yes, she hired a renovation company, but the work hadn't begun yet. I couldn't stand her lies. Until then, I wasn't sure if they were really using my money for her wedding. But the thought of them spending a lot on her wedding while still taking money from me for the house renovation disgusted me. I briefly thought about flying to Houston to check things out myself, but I realized it wouldn't be worth it. Instead, I called my aunt, who lived nearby my mom's house. I asked if she knew about my sister's wedding, and she said yes, but she wasn't invited either. Mom doesn't get along with my dad's side of the family, so it made sense. She also mentioned that my sister's wedding had become the talk of the neighborhood. I mean, just a few years ago, their house was falling apart, and now they have a brand new house and a lavish wedding. Hearing this made me feel dizzy and confused. Mom told me the house still needed repairs, but my aunt said it looked new with fresh paint. Then I remembered about 6 months ago, Mom asked me for $20,000 for her knee surgery. I called Mom to ask where she had the surgery done. I lied, saying a friend needed details for her dad's surgery. Mom struggled to remember and couldn't give me any information about the hospital or clinic. She seemed caught off guard and hung up, saying there was a network issue. When I called again, her phone was off, and she didn't answer for days. I sent a text, but she didn't read it. I realized she was lying. The money I gave her for the surgery was probably used for the house renovations, and the money she's taking now is likely for my sister's wedding. I also found out my sister got engaged on our front lawn with decorations and wine. I felt like I'd been living in the dark because I had no idea they were living so lavishly and pretending to be poor to get money from me. So I decided to cut them off. I stopped sending money to that account, and when Mom called or texted, I ignored her. My sister, who never called before, tried calling, but I ignored her too. I'm done with their lies and manipulation. Just because I make more money than them, and my dad left me an inheritance while giving them nothing, doesn't give them the right to take advantage of me with their lies. I've decided to spoil my mom's princess's big day. Update 2. I was right about my mom. When I ignored all their attempts to reach me, my mom called my husband. Let me tell you, my husband can be a bit of a party pooper. I warned him not to talk to them, but when my mom called him, he did. She started crying, saying I was avoiding them. They needed money to finish the renovations, and I had broken my promise. My husband spilled the beans. Yes, he did that. I wanted to smack him on the head. He told her that I knew the truth, that she'd been using me for money, and that the money was really for my sister's wedding, which is why I cut them off. I was really angry because I wanted them to suffer for their deception, but my husband ruined everything. He also told my mom that we knew she lied about the knee surgery and used that money for the house repairs. After that call, my mom bombarded my phone with apologies. She said it was all a misunderstanding. She borrowed the money from someone for the house repairs and was paying them back with my money. It was another lie. After her constant calls and messages, I said I'd talk to her only if she promised to tell me the truth. She agreed. When we spoke, she finally told me everything. She said my sister wanted a big wedding, but they didn't have the money for it, so they decided to ask me for it. It was my sister's idea to use the excuse of house renovations to get the money from me. They knew I hadn't been to Houston in years and wasn't in touch with anyone there, so I wouldn't know the house was already renovated. I asked her why she didn't just tell me the truth and ask for money directly for the wedding. She said my sister didn't want that. She said she didn't want to ask me for a favor directly. Can you believe that? I told her I knew she used the knee surgery money I gave her to fix the house. She went silent. I told her I knew everything, so there was no point in hiding it. She said the house was falling apart, and my sister's in-laws were coming to visit, so they had to fix it quickly. They couldn't think of a better reason to get money from me in a hurry, so she panicked and called me, saying the doctor wanted her to have urgent knee surgery, and I sent the money right away. Even though I stayed strong on the call, I was crying inside. How could my own mother deceive me like this? I know they have money problems, but that doesn't give them the right to manipulate me and take advantage of my emotions. After I heard the truth, I hung up and cried for hours. I can't remember the last time I cried so much. Maybe when my dad passed away. I missed him terribly that day. 2 days later, I got a voicemail from Mom asking me to send the rest of the money so they could keep planning the wedding. It disgusted me so much that I wanted to scream at her. If she wasn't my mom, I think she was really selfish. She didn't show any regret. All she cared about was money. They didn't even invite me to the wedding, not even out of politeness. When the truth came out, I felt so frustrated that I blocked both of them. I also warned my husband not to talk to them, and if he disobeys me again, he'll sleep outside in the cold. I'm serious about this. I'm keeping in touch with my aunt, and she told me the wedding is next month. I didn't tell her about the money, but I know my mom and sister are struggling more and more each day to make the wedding they wanted happen. Good for them. Update 3. Mom and sister kept calling and leaving voicemails until the wedding day, asking for money, but I didn't give in. On the wedding day, Mom's last voicemail said she was ashamed of me and disowned me. It hurt so much. I cried a lot in front of my husband. People might say I'm mean for ruining my sister's wedding. Mom called me arrogant and selfish too. But she never thought about her lies. She tricked me for so long. I helped them because I felt like I had to. I thought of them as family, but to them, I was just a way to get money. On the wedding day, my friend, whose husband was the wedding planner, called. She said the wedding might be canceled because they weren't paying for it anymore. I asked my friend how much they paid for the wedding so far, and she said $20,000. I said that's enough for a nice wedding, but she said my sister ordered fancy decorations and food, and the location alone cost $20,000. She asked if I was going, and I said no, I had other plans. My friend knew I wasn't close to my mom and sister. To be honest, I felt upset because I felt like I ruined my sister's wedding. For a moment, I thought about giving the rest of the money to my friend to finish the wedding as planned, but then I remembered my mom's voicemail disowning me. What's the point of helping them if they disown me in the end? Maybe my actions weren't great, but they were a reaction to their hurtful actions. I turned off my phone and spent the day with my kids to keep my mind off things. The next day, my friend called again, upset with my sister because the wedding made her husband look bad in the business. On the wedding day, Mom and sister begged her husband to arrange something basic for the wedding and promised to pay $10,000 more. He managed to get decent food and decorations because the $20,000 advance covered most of the venue cost. But guests in the groom's family criticized the arrangements, and my sister blamed the wedding planner. She said he messed everything up. My friend's husband wanted to tell the truth, but Mom begged him not to ruin my sister's life. He stayed quiet and took the blame. Plus, they hadn't paid the promised $10,000 yet. I felt so embarrassed. I didn't know what to say. My friend said she wasn't blaming me, just sharing her frustration. I felt bad for my family's embarrassment, but also embarrassed they blamed the planner. My husband said they got what they deserved, and I shouldn't worry about them. They brought it on themselves by being dishonest. I'm relieved to stay away from their lies and tricks. Mom disowning me turned out to be a blessing. I don't have to deal with their lies anymore. On to the next chapter. My husband dropped a bombshell yesterday. He confessed that he's in love with my sister, but he said it when he was drunk, so I don't know if it's real. We all had dinner together with my sister and her husband, and we drank a lot. After they left, my husband and I had sex. We were tired, so we kept drinking wine, listening to music, and having a good time. My husband seemed happy, like he always does when he's drunk. We talked about my sister and her husband, and out of nowhere he said, "I'm so in love with sister's name." I was shocked and asked, "What?" He said, "I'm crazy about sister's name. I wish I could kiss her, she's amazing." He had this dreamy look on his face and kept smiling. I asked him if he was really drunk, and he said, "Probably." It hit me hard, even though I was also drunk. I just sat there silently, and he seemed lost in his thoughts with a smile on his face. I went to bed feeling confused and upset. This morning, I woke up sober and all those memories came rushing back. What my husband said is haunting me, and I feel shattered inside. He hasn't mentioned anything and seems fine, just dealing with a hangover. I don't know what to do now. He's always had a good relationship with my sister, so should I ignore what he said when he was drunk? Maybe it was just the alcohol talking? Should I wait for him to bring it up? I'm not even sure if he remembers. And what about the sex we had? It felt different. Even though I enjoyed it and thought it was amazing, he seemed different, more passionate and loving. He kept saying, "I love you, you're amazing." My sister recently lost weight and looked stunning in a form-fitting dress yesterday, and we all complimented her. She was really happy about it. I'm not sure why I'm mentioning this, but maybe it's important. I'll definitely talk to him about it when he's not hungover and can think clearly. I'm torn about whether to believe the saying, "drunk mind speaks sober thoughts," because alcohol can cloud judgment. I'm not sure if I can fully believe that alcohol alone could make someone confess love for their sister-in-law. Even if he denies it, do you think you can get past this? Because I believe he'll deny it. If I were you, I wouldn't feel comfortable with my husband and sister being together again, and that's not good for a marriage. I think he was probably just expressing his attraction to your sister in the moment. Honestly, when people's inhibitions are lowered, they might mix up feelings of lust and love. So regardless, you need to talk seriously with your husband. No one else can answer for him, and even after talking, it might be really hard for you to move forward. From experience, I know that even if it's just lust, you might carry this experience with you like a shadow. If you both want to try to make things work, I suggest going to couples counseling and getting therapy individually to help you both move forward in a healthy way. I wish you all the best and hope for a brighter future for you. I'm really sorry you're going through this. Something similar happened to me once. My ex said, "I love you," but he used my twin sister's name instead. When I corrected him, he acted like he made a mistake. But he didn't. He was actually in love with my sister. He was only dating me to get to her. You need to have a serious talk with your husband about this. It makes no sense for him to date you if he's interested in your sister. No sister would ever accept her sister's ex. At least, that's what I thought until she dated him after I. Our upbringing was tough, and our relationship wasn't great because our parents often compared us and put us against each other. I agree, most of the time, that's the worst way to handle it. It would be much better to be friends with their siblings instead of getting involved with them romantically. But I guess he wasn't thinking clearly, lol. It's painful to read about. You definitely need to talk to him about it today. He's acting like nothing happened. Do you think he doesn't remember saying it? I agree that drunk words often reveal sober thoughts. Have you ever noticed any behavior towards her that made you stop and think? Ask him directly while you're facing each other. His reaction will tell you a lot. He's always liked my sister. He gets along with my whole family and is friends with my brothers. But my sister is the one he likes the most, and we're very close to her and her husband. We usually do things together as a group. But my sister has always been my best friend, so it seemed normal. If he had only said, "I love her," it could have been just a drunken slip-up. But he made sure to express his feelings clearly. His words weren't just drunken nonsense. They were sincere and showed deep feelings, especially since his inhibitions were down. People say silly things when they're drunk, but they don't usually profess their love for someone like that unless it's important to them. I would bring it up directly and see how he reacts. That should give you a clear answer. Update. Hi, it's been 3 days since I last updated because I'm feeling conflicted. I talked to my husband on Sunday about what happened. He said he didn't remember much about that night, especially after my sister and her husband left and we kept drinking. I told him what he said, but he didn't seem shocked or surprised, just that he didn't remember saying anything. I asked him if he felt that way before we started drinking. He said he's always loved my sister because she's kind and warm. He also mentioned that he thought she looked really beautiful that night, and maybe his drunk self thought she was attractive. He said it's normal for people to be curious about the opposite sex. He's always thought my family is good looking, and my sister's weight loss gave her confidence, which made her look happy, and he was happy for her. I asked him if he had to choose between us, and he was shocked. He said I'm his wife and the mother of his children, and he loves me. When I asked him to imagine if we had just met and neither of us was married, he got frustrated and said this was getting ridiculous. He doesn't like playing hypothetical games because they can lead to unnecessary fights. After dinner, he reassured me that he loves me very much and that he's happy. He said I shouldn't overthink what he said when he was too drunk to even know who or where he was. I'm still unsure about everything. I appreciate your advice, and I've been thinking about seeing a therapist on my own. It would bother me a lot to think about how much his desire to stay connected with my sister, even if it's just a little, influenced his decision to stay with me. I could never get over the thought of him being intimate with her while using me as a substitute for his feelings for her. These thoughts would keep replaying in my mind forever, making it hard for me to feel connected during intimate moments with him. I'd always be comparing myself, feeling inadequate, and questioning if his feelings for me are genuine. My ADHD would make it even harder for me to believe that his affection for me wasn't just an act. My sister and I are very close, and we live close to each other. I've wondered if he settled for being close to her by being with me. I obsess over every interaction and mention of her, wondering if he's as happy with me as he seems to be with her. I'm not sure if what he's saying is true or if I'm just imagining things now. There's no way to come back from this. It will always be on my mind. I need to trust my instincts and stand up for myself. He admitted his feelings for my sister to me. He's had these feelings for years, but he says he loves me and our life together. We're going to start counseling, and from now on, when I spend time with my sister, he won't be there. He's confessed his feelings for her, but he says he's never acted on them in the past and won't in the future. At my baby party, Mill got really angry and said mean things to me. She even tried to pick a name for my baby, but then she caused a big problem and the police had to take her away. I'm 29 years old and married to my amazing husband, Gary. Right now, I'm pregnant with our first baby, which is really exciting. Gary and I have been together for a long time. We got married 4 years ago. We've been trying to have a baby for a while, and we were really happy when we found out I was pregnant 6 months ago. We've been through a lot together, but we always stick together. The news of our baby coming soon has made us really happy. Every day gets us closer to meeting our little one, and we're so excited. Being pregnant has been a mix of emotions for me, from the excitement of finding out to those sweet times when you feel the baby moving in your belly. Gary has been amazing through it all. He's come to every doctor's appointment. We've read parenting books together, and he's helping decorate the nursery for our baby. We're fully focused on getting ready for the baby now, talking about names, decorating the nursery, and making plans for the future. Gary can't wait to be a dad, and it makes me really happy. He's fully involved, helping out with everything we need to do before the baby arrives. We're facing the ups and downs of pregnancy together, enjoying every moment as we prepare to meet our little one. 2 months ago, we decided it was time to tell our family the exciting news about my pregnancy. We waited until after the first 3 months of pregnancy had passed, and we were sure everything was okay before telling them. We invited our parents, close family, and friends over for lunch. When they saw my growing belly, their faces lit up with happiness and surprise. My mom started crying tears of joy when she saw me and confirmed that I was pregnant. She understood why we waited to tell everyone and was thrilled to become a grandmother soon. But Gary's mom, Barbara, had a different reaction altogether. Instead of being happy about the news, she got really mad when she found out we hadn't told her about the pregnancy earlier. She felt left out and blamed me for not including her on purpose. Even when I tried to explain why we waited, she stayed angry and didn't want to talk to me anymore. Her unhappiness made the family gathering less joyful. During the night, she didn't talk to me at all. She also showed disrespect to my mom, who had always been nice to her before. While everyone else was chatting, Barbara just stared at her phone, clearly upset. She told everyone how she didn't know I was pregnant, and she felt like she missed out on time with her grandchild even before they were born. My husband and one of his brothers noticed how upset she was. As things got more tense, I felt like I couldn't take it anymore, so I went outside to calm down for a bit. My mom noticed I was upset and came to comfort me until I felt better and went back inside. When it was time for Barbara to leave, she made sure to say goodbye to me last. But she barely said more than a quick hi and bye. Later, when my husband walked them to their car, they ended up having a big argument, and I could hear it from inside. Barbara used the chance to complain about me, making things even more awkward. Luckily, everyone else had left by then, so it was just me, my parents, Gary, and his parents. Barbara was really mad and told my husband she couldn't believe I hadn't told her about the pregnancy sooner. My husband calmly explained that we waited until we knew everything was okay before telling anyone. The Barbara started yelling after hearing this. It was a difficult conversation. Barbara, I should have known about our grandchild right from the start. Gary, Mom, it wasn't about who deserves to know. We both decided together. She just wanted to be careful. Barbara, careful? I'm her mother-in-law. She should have trusted me. It's all her fault. At this point, my husband got really mad. He had been holding back, but when his mom kept blaming me, he got angry. He told her firmly that it wasn't just my decision, it was ours. He said if she was blaming me, she should blame him too. He told her to stop overreacting and get over it. Barbara said he should see things clearly and not let me control everything. She said as his mom, she should have known first about her grandchild. But my husband didn't back down. He told her to stop attacking me and said he loved her, but she needed to leave and calm down before she said something she'd regret. As Barbara walked away, my husband looked frustrated and disappointed. I didn't realize tears were running down my face. Her words hurt me a lot. Gary noticed I was upset and quickly comforted me, leading me back inside. My parents stayed back, sensing the tension until I felt better. Barbara didn't stop there. Later that night, I got a message from her, and I felt really anxious about what it would say. Her message said, I'm really disappointed in you. You purposely kept important news from me, and I can't forgive that. I can't believe you didn't tell me about my grandchild right away. This isn't how a family should be, and it hurts me. Instead of saying sorry for what you did, you're causing problems between me and my son. Shame on you. Her message made me feel really upset and angry. I showed it to Gary, and he was furious. He couldn't understand why his mom was being so mean and blaming me. Gary decided to call her and tell her not to send such mean messages because it made me feel worse. He even said he'd stop talking to her if she kept acting this way. Barbara seemed to listen to Gary's serious words. She changed her tone when faced with the idea of being cut off. Instead of admitting she was wrong, she suggested a solution. She said she'd forgive us if we let her throw us a baby shower. We were surprised by this sudden change and wondered why she was being so nice all of a sudden. She kept saying how happy it would make her to plan a big party for me and our baby, taking care of everything. Gary looked at me wondering what to do, but I wasn't sure if Barbara's sudden change was genuine or just a way for her to control the situation. Even though I wasn't sure about it, Gary, always trying to keep things peaceful, thought we should consider his mom's offer. I told Gary I was worried that accepting her offer might make her think her behavior was okay. Gary understood what I meant, but he hoped that letting his mom plan the baby shower could help fix things and make our family happier before the baby came. I didn't really like the idea, but I agreed to it because Gary thought it might help. He told his mom she could plan the baby shower. She was really happy and thanked us for letting her do it, but I thought she would ask me about what I wanted for the baby shower too. The baby shower was still a month away, and I expected we'd work out all the details together. But I was disappointed to find out that my mother-in-law had taken charge without asking anyone, not even me. She bought decorations, picked games, and planned everything on her own. When my mom tried to talk to her about the baby shower, my mother-in-law said it was all set and would be a surprise for me. I felt really sad and frustrated because the event meant to celebrate me was being planned without thinking about what I wanted. On the day of my baby shower, there was a mix of excitement and nervousness in the air. I got to the banquet hall with my close friends, who were excited to celebrate the baby. When I walked in, I saw the decorations my mother-in-law picked out. There were lots of brown and beige balloons everywhere, like a safari theme gone wrong. I really didn't like it. The atmosphere I imagined was lively and colorful, but this felt dull. Things got even weirder when I saw a big banner near the entrance. It had a bunch of pictures of my husband when he was a baby with his mom, Barbara. Everyone was confused about why those pictures were there at my baby shower. I looked at her with confusion, and she just laughed and said she thought our baby would look exactly like my husband. She thought he was so cute as a baby and wanted to show everyone. I stared at her, wondering if she was serious. It seemed like she cared more about her memories as a mom than celebrating our new family member. As more people came, they looked confused or uncomfortable. The decorations and the big banner with my husband and his mom made the room feel awkward. It wasn't the happy and pretty baby shower I had imagined. I looked at some of my friends, and we silently shared our feelings of apology for what was happening. When my mom came in, she was shocked by the terrible decorations. She saw the big banner too, and I could tell she couldn't believe it. Instead of celebrating our baby, it seemed like it was all about my husband's childhood. My mom didn't say anything. She just walked over to the banner and took it down, showing she was determined to make things right. The room got quiet, and everyone looked at my mom as she took down the big banner that was taking over the celebration. I felt really thankful for my mom's support. My mother-in-law, who was talking to other guests, looked shocked when she saw my mom throwing the banner in the trash. She asked angrily, "What are you doing?" That banner was supposed to celebrate the baby and our family. But my mom stayed calm and said, "This party is about my daughter and her baby, not about showing off your achievements." Everyone around them stopped to watch this unexpected argument. My mother-in-law tried to take back control by saying, "I just wanted everyone to know I helped plan this party." She argued back, saying she just wanted to show how cute Gary was as a kid. But my mom didn't give in. She reminded Barbara that she begged to throw the baby shower after what happened last time. "This is about my daughter and her baby, not about you trying to take over," my mom said firmly. Everyone got quiet as they watched them argue. Barbara realized she wasn't getting her way and went back to talking to other guests with a fake smile. After the argument, the baby shower went on, and I tried to stay positive for my friends and family, even though there was still tension in the air. I didn't think there would be any more surprises from my mother-in-law, but she seemed to be drinking a lot for a baby shower. I couldn't really say anything to her about it though. We played some games, and slowly, everyone started to have fun. Then it was time to open gifts. I was happy with all the thoughtful presents for my baby, but then my mother-in-law gave me a really big gift box with a huge smile. The room got quiet, and I felt embarrassed and frustrated. My mom looked mad, and the guests didn't know what to do with this unexpected moment. Trying to keep things calm, I forced a smile and thanked her for the gift, even though I wanted to roll my eyes. But things got worse when it was time to cut the cake. My mother-in-law got a huge fancy cake with lots of decorations. She made a big deal out of it, making everyone look at her. I was getting annoyed, wondering what she was doing now. We all waited for her to talk. Then she said she had the perfect name for our baby girl. I felt stuck when she said that, remembering we hadn't even decided on a name yet. She proudly said the baby should be named after her great-grandmother, with a name that sounded really old-fashioned. I was surprised and a bit annoyed that she thought she could choose the name. I tried to be nice, saying my husband and I wanted to pick the name together. But she wouldn't listen. She said she had the perfect name and that I should accept it, especially since she spent a lot of money on the baby shower. I was really surprised by her attitude. I told her firmly that only my husband and I could choose our baby's name, no matter who threw the baby shower. But then she started yelling at me in front of everyone. She said I was being disrespectful and should be thankful for what she did. She even insulted my upbringing, saying I should be thanking her instead of deciding the baby's name myself. Barbara got more and more aggressive, pointing at my face. My mom stepped in front of me to protect me. Barbara kept yelling, saying she was the real mommy of my baby because she gave birth to my husband and he's the one who made me pregnant. Her words were really hurtful. Even though my mom tried to stop her, she didn't listen. She just kept insulting me and my mom. It was clear she had too much to drink, and talking to her didn't help. The whole situation was really uncomfortable for everyone. Realizing things were getting worse, I decided I couldn't take any more embarrassment. I wanted to leave with the gifts my friends gave me, but Barbara grabbed them from me and threw them on the ground. She said I was ungrateful and causing problems between her and her son. More people started paying attention to what was happening, and some even started filming. I asked one of my friends to ask everyone to leave politely, hoping to stop the chaos. But Barbara kept yelling at me, making a scene that nobody expected at what was supposed to be a happy party. I got really mad and decided to call the police to get Barbara away from me because I felt unsafe. Can you believe it? I had to involve the police at my own baby shower because of my difficult mother-in-law. When the police came, Barbara acted like she was the victim and blamed me for everything. Luckily, the police understood the situation and tried to talk to her. But because she was drunk, Barbara didn't listen and even yelled at the police. Things got so bad that they had to arrest her right there. I left with my mom and close friends, feeling really shaken up by what happened. Since then, my husband and I have been dealing with the aftermath. Barbara is trying to make us feel guilty and get sympathy from family members who weren't there. My husband thinks I went too far by calling the police. He thinks I should have called him or his dad for help instead. So Reddit, do you think I was wrong for calling the police on Barbara for ruining my baby shower and pretending to be the baby's real mom? Update 1. I want to thank everyone for their support after I shared my story about calling the police at my baby shower. I've never seen my mother-in-law act so aggressively before. Usually, I only see her during holidays, so I never spent much time with her. Her behavior at the baby shower made me worried she might hurt me, especially with my baby on the way. Since then, all the guests from the baby shower have reached out to support me. Some even sent videos of what happened, which I plan to show my husband. I'm going to talk to him seriously about what to do about his mom this weekend. Update 2. I showed the videos to my husband. We sat down and had a serious talk about what happened. I explained how his mom's behavior got worse from when she found out about the pregnancy to the baby shower. I told him about the yelling, accusations, and strange gifts. Then I showed him the videos and he looked shocked. Seeing what happened made him realize how serious it was. He apologized to me for not realizing how bad it was and agreed that calling the police was the right thing to do. I had no idea it was this bad. I'm really sorry you had to deal with all of that, he said, looking regretful and frustrated. He said he never thought his mom could act this badly because it didn't seem like her at all. He told me he was on my side and that my safety, especially during pregnancy, was really important to him. We talked about why his mom acted this way and how she always needed to be in control. Gary admitted he was worried about her behavior and agreed she went too far. I told him I didn't want anything to do with her after what happened at the baby shower. I said he could still talk to her if he wanted, but me and our baby wouldn't be around her until she got help for her behavior. Gary agreed, saying what his mom did was really wrong, and he was ready to cut ties with her too. I told him he didn't have to cut ties with his mom, but he said she disrespected me, so she shouldn't be part of our lives anymore. He knew her behavior wasn't just about the baby shower, but also about other problems. Gary promised to talk to his mom himself and tell her we didn't want her in our lives anymore. I asked him to warn her that if she showed up uninvited and tried to force me to accept her back, I would call the police again. Update 3. It's been a month since I last updated you all. Me and the baby are doing fine. I'm really excited to meet my child soon. Since my last update, we haven't been talking to Barbara. Gary talked to his parents, and his dad promised to talk to Barbara and make sure she respects our decision. Cutting ties with Barbara has changed our lives a lot. Without her drama and negativity, our home feels more peaceful. Now, Gary and I can focus on getting ready for the baby without worrying about Barbara causing trouble. Our friends and family have been really supportive during this tough time. My parents and close friends have been there for us, giving us strength and understanding. Even family members who didn't know how bad Barbara's behavior was have shown support after seeing the videos from the baby shower. Our journey isn't over, but this experience has made us stronger and showed us the importance of facing problems together. Cutting ties with Barbara wasn't an easy decision, but it was necessary for our happiness. There might still be challenges, but we're hopeful about the good things this decision brings. As we wait for our baby, we're focused on creating a loving and supportive family.